All right, where is your line? That's what we'll be looking at today when we consider John Mark and his relationship with Paul in particular. I'm in 2-7, which is a wonderful class that you should consider. This is the obligatory 2-7 plug. Book 2 right now, and we were in a discussion about how we each have a line. At first it's easy for us to go, I'll do anything and everything. Whatever God calls me to, that's the thing that I'll do. That should be our heart attitude, and that should be our reality. We should follow God no matter where He calls us. But we often have this line in the sand that we've drawn where we go, God, I'll do anything you call us to except for that, except for ministering to that person, or except for going to that place. We have these lines in the sand. For Jonah, as he didn't want to go to Nineveh, he didn't want to do that. He would not preach a message of repentance to what he perceived as a monstrous people. But for Paul, it came a point where John Mark was his line in the sand. They had had a falling out and they had had a difficult relationship. They had had something happen that caused a split in a division, a line in the sand. This was so stark that even Barnabas and Paul went separate ways. Now, a layer to this story that some people might miss is that John Mark and Barnabas were likely cousins. They were believed to be cousins, so it became deeply personal. And at some point, what we do learn is that Paul and John Mark come back together. They get reconciled. There is a line in the sand for some time for Paul where he says, I won't go beyond this. I won't bring John Mark. That's my land. That's where I draw my conclusion. But at some point we see that gets reconciled. And in 2 Timothy, it becomes even favorable for Paul to speak of John Mark. He desires John Mark at some point. He calls him useful for him in the ministry. For us, we have to know that though we might have a line in the sand, we need to be willing to go anywhere and do anything that God is calling us to. Our question for today, as we consider John Mark and his line in the sand moment with Paul, is where is our line in the sand? Is it a result of a hard heart? Or is it wisdom? There can be a time of wisdom where we say, God, I don't believe that you're calling me to do this or to go to this place. And that can be discerning the Spirit's will. But if we discern the Spirit is calling us there, we have to be faithful to act. We have to be faithful not to put lines in the sand where they shouldn't be. We need to be faithful to remember that it is another for Christ at any cost to us.